Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be. Welcome to episode 7 of I Am Practically Spiritual podcast. We are so happy to have you here. And again, I want to share with you that today's episode is sponsored by the Love Ladders, a collection of jewelry and small sculptural works where every piece shines as a reminder of love's true presence. We're also grateful for the support of the Forgiveness Piece, a sculpture project devoted to forgiveness. We invite you to visit theloveladders.com and theforgivenesspiece.com to discover the many ways to express being practically spiritual. And be sure to use the coupon code SPIRITUAL to receive a 25% discount. So, how are you this afternoon, my practical student, Carlos Felipe?
I'm very well, dear Janet, the practical student ready here to learn.
Okay, we're happy and thrilled to have you here as well. So, last episode, we began the God is lessons that are bringing us closer to understanding how intimate our relationship is with our source. We can exist apart from God, but when we are apart from our celestial parent, we exist, but we do not live. Our every problem or desire is resolved, I love that word, with our acceptance of the most important relationship we will ever have. That's with God, in case you were wondering. God is everything we will ever need and shares with us the most important qualities needed to shift the beliefs we have about this world, as I call it, ego land. We will be doing one extra lesson this week so that we will complete the first 50 lessons and we can now start our first review next week. So, lesson 43, continuing with God is my source. I cannot see apart from him. So there is a difference between seeing and vision. The eyes of the body perceive things. They do not truly understand anything. Our perceptions need to be healed because we must be able to forgiveness project, peace, forgive. Forgiveness is so important here, and have vision, which is accepting God's gift of vision. And you might remember that from lesson 42, that God is my strength, vision is his gift, which is not possible. Vision is not possible if we don't accept that we are a part of, not a part from God. If we are not seeing with God, we are not really seeing anything. Practical example, the movie Avatar. There's a scene in it where one character looks deeply into the other's eyes and says, I see you. This is going beyond the physical sense of sight, and we can call that inner vision. What do you think, Carlos Felipe?
That's very powerful, It's I love how these lessons, the first 50 lessons, guide us to begin to look inside for that source.
Yes.
What we come from.
Where we come from, yes.
Yes.
And we are part of, not
yes.
apart from. Okay, lesson 44, God is the light in which I see, that no one can see anything in the dark. Now that is true in both realms. It's true here in ego land, and it is true in the eternal realm. We need light. We require light. In order to see, we require light. In ego land, as I call it, we need artificial lights. But in truth, we carry the light within each of us. We need to connect with that inner light in order to have vision or true perception. Light signifies creation, which is the polar opposite of the darkness of the ego thought system. The exercises for this lesson are geared towards having an experience of the light, to go past the thoughts of this world and connect with that inner light, which is waiting for us. God is the mind with which I think. Now, today's lesson, it has one of my favorite lines that appears several times within the course, the workbook especially, that you think you think. You think you think. Today, this line is about the thoughts that I think I think. If I am thinking apart from God's mind, I'm not really thinking. I am caught up in the ego and perceiving, seeing things that are no more real than the thoughts I am having apart from God's mind. They're all illusions. This lesson also shares with us one of the foundational premises of the Course, that a thought never leaves the source that thought it. Here's a big thought now. We are a thought within the mind of God, and we've never left. Our mind and God's are one. Our real thoughts, the eternal ones, are deep within our mind, where they were established the moment of our creation. And as the lesson says, under all the senseless thoughts and mad ideas with which you have cluttered up your mind are the thoughts that you thought with God in the beginning.
There's a lot of noise there, right? I don't know
Yeah,
what
there's
those
a lot
thoughts
of
about.
a lot of clutter. We think of clutter as stuff on flat surfaces, but the clutter in our mind is much more dangerous, shall we say.
Yes, indeed.
So now, God is the love in which I forgive. There's that word again. You're going to be hearing a lot of it. Many religions tell us that we have to ask for God's forgiveness because of our many, many transgressions against Him. However, A Course in Miracles has a completely different message. We do not have to ask or petition God for forgiveness because He's never judged against us. And without condemnation, forgiveness is not required. But this lesson tells us forgiveness is the great need of this world. So why do we need forgiveness so much? Because this is a world of illusions.
But also I would say is because we judge.
Yes.
And because we judge, we
Right.
need to forgive.
Absolutely. In A Course in Miracles, there is the Course version of the Lord's Prayer. It's at the end of chapter 16. In some books, it's page 350. And it begins, "Forgive us our illusions, Father, and help us to accept our true relationship with you." It's a very powerful prayer. I suggest that at some point you go and read it. Forgiveness is the gift that we give to ourself first and then allow it to extend into the world. This way, all is forgiven, and it's like one of the things I talk about often, that pebble in the pond. So, why do I have to forgive myself? Probably one of the most asked questions I hear. All of the unloving thoughts that have made me aware of the need for forgiveness began in my mind when I was not thinking with the mind of God. So as the lesson teaches, we always condemn ourselves first, so we forgive ourselves first. Does that make sense?
Oof, yes. Unfortunately, it does.
Unfortunately, it does. Okay. But there's great freedom in forgiveness, which the Course tells us, and that we will just feel so much better when we forgive.
Yeah, and again, I just love the line that, God doesn't need forgiveness because He has never judged against us.
Right.
Then for us to see the relationship between judgment and forgiveness, we need forgiveness because we have judgment.
Exactly.
The less judgment that we have, the
Exactly.
less so
Exactly.
that's,
And that is, one of the, I'll call it the tricks of this course, that, when we realize, if I don't judge against myself, I don't judge myself, let's forget anyone else. If I don't judge myself, then I don't need to worry about forgiving myself, and I won't put, shame and blame and guilt, that nasty trio on myself if I don't judge against myself. Start to have, beautiful, self-affirming thoughts about me.
a better relationship.
A much better relationship, much better. So, God is, lesson 47, God is the strength in which I trust. Now, this strength, This strength is not associated with anything that happens in your workout routine. Okay? You're not going to find this at the gym. God's strength is that inner spiritual muscle that we are developing. This lesson begins with what I refer to as a zinger line. If you are trusting in your own strength, you have every reason to be apprehensive, anxious, and fearful. We have no strength or power in ego land. There is nothing we can count on here. Our true strength comes from our source. Lesson 42 again. God is my strength, vision is his gift. Without that spiritual connection, we can't accomplish anything. We cannot solve any problems because we can't really discern what the problem is. So therefore, we don't know what the solution is. When we feel the strength of our source, we feel strong, we feel safe, and we feel protected. And because we are all one, that safety and that protection is shared. The practicing for this lesson is to search our thoughts for situations that we have invested with fear, and now dismiss them, and then repeat the idea for today. God is the strength in which I trust. When we release the situation to the strength of God, we can trust it will be solved successfully, and here's the really good part, no one will lose. It's a very important shift from how the ego solves problems.
Yeah, for us to let go, that's one of the biggest practices that we have to do, to begin to let go and trust.
Right, and here in ego land, I think I'm just going to keep using that phrase.
I like it. It's good.
Here in ego land, there are winners and there are losers. But, in the realm of the eternal, when we trust and the strength of God, no one loses. It's all equitable. So this lesson concludes by telling us there is a place in you where there is perfect peace. There is a place in you where nothing is impossible. There is a place in you where the strength of God abides. Isn't that good?
That's awesome.
Okay, now, lesson 48. We're complete with our God is lessons until much later in the workbook. Lesson 48. There is nothing to fear. Now, I've always thought that this lesson should come with an exclamation point after it. This lesson simply states a fact. It doesn't seem to be real if I am believing in illusions and all of the chaos that they bring me. But this lesson links to a previous one by telling me if I am fearful, it's because I am using my strength and not God's. It also assures me when I realize I have nothing to fear, it's because somewhere deep within my mind, I remember God. And being willing to remember removes any lingering fear thoughts and brings me peace. Okay? That's just, there is nothing to fear.
Yeah, peace is, after we begin to remove all the things that the course has asked us in these first 50 lessons, not to judge, that we have no neutral thoughts, when we begin to shake those foundations of ego land, let's say, that are very natural to us, that by doing that, beginning to do that, the course, by removing certain blocks, will bring us to the peace that we have inside. Yes. And that's what the course will do, and that's a promise and the guarantee. But the trick is that we have to do what the course says.
Right, we have to practice.
Yes,
so
and do the lessons.
Okay, lesson 49. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. So if I say I hear voices, I am very likely to get some strange looks, and some will worry about me. Now, what if I say I am hearing God's voice? Will that make it better or worse?
That will make it better, but still some people will stare at you.
Yeah, this is true. So hearing the voice for God is a very natural thing when we remember that we are part of God's mind. We haven't spoken about this in detail yet, but we have made a distinction between the ego mind and God's, and we can refer to them as the higher and the lower parts of the mind. The lower part is always in a state of chaos, and it's never calm. And two important things here. One, the ego part of that mind, it's our mind, it's very small. We think it isn't, it's very small. And secondly, it's filled with illusions. So it's not really real. Ergo, I love that word, the only real part of our mind is the part that we align with God. So about those voices in my head, your head, the only one that we want to listen for and to is the one that's filled with love and peaceful words. It's reassuring and it's gentle. It's sometimes referred to as that still small voice. This is the voice you want to try to reach during the practicing today. And the lesson says, go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you, beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts. We go deep into that. And then it will reassuringly tell us, we're trying to reach your real home. We're trying to reach God. So that's a good thing to do today. It's a good goal. And now we complete the first 50 lessons with, I am sustained by the love of God. And this lesson says that every problem, it's now solved with this one lesson. Sustained, maintained. I'm given all that I need with the love of God. God's love supplies us with everything we need in every moment. We are raised up from all dangers and illusions from ego land. So place faith in God's love, not in the trinkets and the traps of this world. None of them will last. But more importantly, this lesson begins to gently guide us away from our body beliefs and identification. So, and more of that is to come.
That's a wonderful way to wrap it up in lesson 50. Go of the ego, and sometimes the ego is so controlling. We have to let go.
Yes.
We need to go into that foundation of trust.
Right. And the Course tells us that the ego voice speaks first and loudest. It doesn't reply to us. It shouts at us. And it gets our attention.
Oh, yeah. It's very noisy.
But going in to listen to the voice for God, that's why we have to get quiet first, because it's a quiet voice, and it waits for us to be ready to listen. So,
That's very key, because part of all these lessons is to begin to be more quiet and a little more silent, so that we can really listen to the voice.
Exactly.
Voice.
Okay.
So now we have to see also the assignment from the last episode is, if you remember to say thank you, to be thankful, that superpower.
Right.
This small phrase brings us to the gratitude, which is the foundation for the awareness of love.
Right.
And this week, what are we going to do this week? I think we're going to ask us to bless.
Yes.
Right? Everyone, and not only when they sneeze.
Right. Not only when they sneeze. Because the thing about, we talked about, God doesn't have to forgive us because He's never judged us. Well, the Course tells us that, we will always be either judging or blessing. So if I bless someone, it stops my mind from making a judgment about them.
There's no neutral thoughts, right?
Right.
Either you're attacking
right.
or...
I'm one way or the other. So, when I see something that I could quickly make a judgment about, I can stop myself and instead say, oh, I bless that person.
And mean it.
I mean it, yes.
So we ask you to practice that, yeah?
Yes, definitely. Practice that. And thank you for listening. We're so happy to have you here. And of course, remember to breathe and smile.
And we'll see you next time here. Thank you for being here. Please leave us a comment or any questions that you may have. We'll see you next time.